صاحب حوزي قد أذنت لك فدخل معه تحت الكساء. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بوالدي الحسين قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أمه. فقلت وعليك السلام يا والدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرات فؤادي. فقال لي يا أمه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدأنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جده. السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله. وأتأذن لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء.
اللهم صل على محمد.
فقال وعليك السلام يا والدي ويا شافع أمتي قد أذنت لك فدخل معهما تحت الكساء. فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عمي رسول الله. فقلت نعم ها هو مع والديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله. تأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء. قال له وعليك السلام يا أخي ويا وسيي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء. ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أباته يا رسول الله. أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء. قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بزأتي قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء. فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بتأر في الكساء وأومأ بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إني هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وحامتي لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي. يؤلمني ما يؤلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنهرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن صالمهم وعدو لمن آداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم. فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورزوانك عليهم ورزوانك علي وعليهم وأذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد.
فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان السماوات إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مدنية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مزية ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا بمحبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبريل يا رب ومن تحت الكساء. فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. فقال جبريل يا رب أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا. فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك. فهابط الأمين جبريل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله العلي الأعلى يقرأك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرضا مبنية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك فدخل جبريل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا.
صل على محمد.
فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محافل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي إذا والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال النبي ثانيا يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محافل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم محموم إلا فرج له همه ولا مغموم إلا كشف له غمه ولا طالب حاجة إلا كزل له حاجته. فقال علي إذا والله فزنا وسودنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسودوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد محمد وعلى محمد صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد محمد.
आप लोगों से गुजारिश है कि थोड़ा आगे की तरफ आ जाइए ताकि माहौल बन जाए। मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम। पहुँचे गरीब शहर मदीना तो रो दिए पहुँचे गरीब शहर मदीना तो रो दिए आबिद का दिल दुखों से भराया तो रो दिए पहुँचे करीब शहर मदीना तो रो दिए आबिद का दिल गमों से भराया چلے اور ٹھہر گئے پاؤں میں آب لے تھے چلے اور ٹھہر گئے روزہ رسول کا نظر آیا تو رو دیے غریب شہر مدینہ تو رو دیے بیٹھے زمین پہ سر کو جھکائے ہوئے ایمان بیٹھے زمین پہ سر کو جھکائے ہوئے ایمان سایہ کیا کسی نے ردا کا تو رو دیے سایہ کیا کسی نے ردا کا تو رو دیے پہنچے قریب شہر عباس کی وفا کا شجاعت کا ذکر تھا عباس کی وفا کا شجاعت کا ذکر تھا بیٹے نے آ کے باپ کو پوچھا تو رو دیے پہنچے قریب شہر مدینہ تو رو دیے ام البنی کو بیٹ کا پرسا دیا مگر ام البنی کو بیٹ کا پرسا دیا مگر ہر صغرا کو دے سکے نہ دلاسا تو رو دیے پہنچے قریب شہر مدینہ تو رو دیے پہنچے قریب شہر روداد کر بلا کی سنایا کیے ایمان روداد کر بلا کی سنایا کیے ایمان جب ذکر شہر شام کا آیا تو رو دیے جب
جب ذکر شہر شام کا آیا تو رو دیے مدینہ تو رو دیے عابد کا دل غموں سے بھرایا تو رو دیے پہنچے غریب
پر محمد علی محمد صلوات
اللهم صل على
پر محمد علی محمد بلندتر صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد.
جانے سے پیش درود بھیجے محمد وہاں
اللهم صل على
حق کا حقیقت مجھے حامل بنا دیا حق کا حقیقت مجھے حامل بنا دیا محفل میں وجہ رونق محفل بنا دیا پیدا ہوئے علی تو یہ بولا خدا کا گھر پیدا ہوئے علی تو یہ بولا خدا کا گھر مجھے طواف کے قابل بنا دیا حق کا حقیقت مجھے بدائے ایام الرا کی مناسبت سے وسیع کی چند بند ہے فاتحہ.
بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى
اے سوگوارو آہو بکا کا مقام ہے اب رخصت حسین علیہ السلام ہے مہماں تمہارا جاتا ہے جو تشنہ کام ہے سر پیٹو خاک اڑاؤ کے ماتم سر پیٹو خاک اڑاؤ کے ماتم تمام ہے اب وہ صدائے ہائے حسین آنا آئے گی گھر میں تمہارے فاطمہ زہرا में तुम्हारे फातिमा ज़हरा नाम। ऐ शाहे करबला तेरी खिदमत न हो सकी, ऐ कुश्ते जफा तेरी खिदमत न हो सकी, ऐ जाने फातिमा तेरी खिदमत न हो सकी, मेहमान नैनवा तेरी खिदमत न हो, मेहमान नैनवा तेरी खिदमत न हो सकी, जी भर के रो सके ना ये गर्दिश नसीब की, मजलिस ये आखिरी है हुसैन गरीब, मजलिस ये आखिरी है हुसैन गरीब, अगले बरस हुसैन मुहर्रम में आएंगे, बाकी रही हयात तो ये गम मनाएंगे, और फातिमा के लाल पे आंसू बहाएंगे, गर मर गए तो खब्र में हम पाक उड़ा, गर मर गए तो खब्र में हम पाक उड़ाएंगे, तैयार काफिला है शहे मशरिक़ैन का, लो करबला को जाता है कुनबा हुसैन, लो करबला को जाता है कुनबा हुसैन, अब्बास से बावफाली अकबर न जाइए, झूले को खाली छोड़ के असर न चाहिए, लेकर बारात हासिल में बेपर न जाइए, वीरा मकान होता है सरवर न जाए, वीरा मकान होता है सरवर न जाए, आई सदा न रो आजादार आएंगे, फिर अगले साल अपने भरे घर को ला, फिर अगले साल अपने भरे घर को लाएंगे, बेचैन फातिमा है ना आंसू बहाओ तुम, मैं जा रहा हूँ रोके ना मुझको रुलाओ तुम, ज़हमत ना हो तो मेरी ज़ियारत को आओ तुम, तुर्बत पे आके अश्कों की चादर चढ़ा, तुर्बत पे आके अश्कों की चादर चढ़ा, मेहमान जो करबला में मेरे पास आएंगे, उन सब की पेशवाई को अब्बास, उन सब की पेशवाई को अब्बास लो अलविदा होता है रुखसत ये तश्न काम, तुम रो रहे हो माह मुहर्रम से सुबह हो शाम, कौसर पे अपने हाथ से दूंगा मैं भर के जाम, रुखसत हुसैन होता है तुम पर मेरा, रुखसत हुसैन होता है तुम पर मेरा सलाम, दोनों जहां में खुश रहो और शाद तुम रहो, अम्मा दुआएं देती है आबाद को, अम्मा दुआएं देती है आबाद को रहो, ऐ शाह ऐ तश्न कामों पे ناکام الوداع اے مبتلائے حسرت و علام الوداع اے بے کفن علی کے گل اندام الوداع مذبوح دے شمر بدن جام مذبوح دے شمر بدن جام مظلومیت پہ آپ کی جان اپنی کھوئیں گے جب تک ہے زندہ آپ کے ماتم میں رو جب تک ہے زندہ آپ کے ماتم میں روئیں گے اے شاہ کربلائے مولا سلام لو ہم بے کسوں کے والیوں مولا سلام لو آقا سلام لو والا سلام لو اے فاطمہ کے چاند ہمارا سلام اے فاطمہ کے چاند ہمارا سلام لو رخصت یہ آخری ہے دل افکار آئے ہیں مولا سلام لو یہ عزادار مولا سلام لو یہ عزادار آئے ہیں
محمد و آل محمد صلوات
اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Just a quick announcement before I request Maulana Mehdi Muhammad to come and start the Majlis. Our next program is tomorrow night, our last Majlis for this season. Will be tomorrow night at 7 p.m. with Salat al-Maghribain, inshallah. And that is the Majlis for the Shahadat of our 11th Imam. So please join us tomorrow night at 7 p.m. starting with Salat al-Maghribain. And inshallah, Maulana Muhammad Mahmood will be deciding that Majlis as well. After this Majlis program, our next program at Majlis-e-Aza will be on the weekend of October 16th, on the day of October 16th, which is a Sunday. And that is the Jashn Eid Milad al-Nabi. Please join us. That program will be at 3 p.m. on Sunday, October 16th. And inshallah, Maulana Sheikh Jalil will be here for that program. So please join us for that program as well. Sponsors, Mrs. Nurzi Sheikh and her family request all of you to please join us on Sunday, October 16th at 3 p.m. inshallah. And we'll share that information on our WhatsApp group and emails as well. Before I request Maulana to come, this is the first time Maulana is coming here, so just a brief introduction. And Brother Hadi gave that yesterday, but some of you are new here today. So just to Maulana Mehdi Mahmudpur is joining us for the first time. We'd like to thank him for joining us. He is a PhD student at Georgetown University and a graduate of the Islamic Seminary of where he studied for over a decade with a focus on fiqh, theology, and philosophy. Currently, he is teaching Islamic and religious studies at Mizan Institute, Mufid Academic Seminary, and George Mason University in Maryland. So please welcome him. Loud salawat, please. Just one last Prophet Muhammad Day.
Yeah.
When is that? I'm sorry, I didn't get the message.
16th Prophet Muhammad Day.
Prophet Muhammad Day.
16th.
What day is that?
Sunday.
If you can share that, I'll just make the announcement as well, please. Sure. Salawat. On Sunday, same day that I mentioned about Jashn Eid Milad al-Nabi here, this program is a little earlier. So please join us for annual Prophet Muhammad Interfaith Conference on Sunday, October 16th at 1:30 p.m. And actually 2 p.m. And that's at the Monroe Township Senior Center, inshallah. So please be there for that program as well. اللهم صل على
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة على رسول الله وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه المنتجبين سيما بقية الله في الأرضين. عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليك يا أبا صالح المهدي عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف. بجرسال الصلوات على محمد وعلى آل محمد. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen for this second gathering that we're having this weekend, as we in so many ways are bidding farewell to this Muharram and Safar months. And last night we began our discussion going over what we call the principles or the keys to the perseverance of the movement of Imam al-Hussein and the movement of Karbala. We said there are a few different ways of looking at this. One way is to study it from a historical perspective and see something that lasts for over 1,000 years. Especially considering the circumstances, this is not an event, it is not a memory that has been utilized by any government, any state. It is not central to the identity of a large population comparatively. So it's a question that remains. How is it that for over 1,000 years you have a tradition that remains as vibrant as it was in those early days until today? It's not a normal thing, right? As generations pass, things change, people come, new movements come, and we have to update as we do in all things in life. But for whatever reason, this one has not been. So it's an interesting thing for any student of history. But beyond that, we said there's another way of kind of looking at this question. And the question is not just about, historically analyzing it, but looking at what that says for a person who wants to participate in this movement, who wants to propagate, who wants to forward this movement. We look at these keys in a practical way, in a strategic way. What has caused this message to proliferate, to strengthen, and how should we be utilizing those in our efforts also to make this contribution? Last night we said, yesterday we said in the Majlis that of the 7 principles or 7 keys that we can identify, the first of them and the most important is to acknowledge that the will of God is central. That what occurs in the world is because God wants it to. What does not occur is because God does not want it to. So beyond that, it was important for us, and we were kind of reminding ourselves that if we want to make contributions in positive ways, the question to ask is not just, is the will of God behind these actions? Of course, the will of God is behind all actions. All injustice that is happening in the world, it is because God has allowed it to. All oppression that is happening in the world is because God has allowed it to. So that's not really a litmus test. And the way that we're teaching our children should not be one that if something good happens is because God allowed it, and if something bad happens because God does not allow it. No, that's an incorrect theology. But what is God pleased with? That's the question of the will of God. What is God pleased with? And there, God is of course pleased with certain actions and displeased with certain actions. So in our actions, in trying to kind of take this torch of what is the message of Imam al-Hussein and trying to carry it and then pass it on to the next generation, how are we understanding where the will of God is? That means, in so many words, is God pleased with the way that we are interacting with this movement? Or are there displeasures there? And if there are displeasures, how can we transform them from displeasures into pleasures? That's a question we need to ask ourselves. And then we need to be in pursuit of those things that make the supporting of this message pleasurable to God and things that are displeasing to God. Now, I don't want to get into the specifics because the specifics themselves are kind of at the next step. There has to be a larger buy-in that there's a right and wrong way to lend support. Without it being an attack, without it being a criticism, without it being, losing one's faithfulness. This is not the issue to be reflected. Once there is a larger acceptance that this is something that we should be proximating ourselves to, which we all do in attendance, are we doing it in ways that are pleasurable and effective to the will of God? So that was the conversation we had yesterday. The second of these principles now, it ties in very well to the first one. See, Quran speaks about agents of good, agents of evil. Okay? Clearly, said we want to be good people in the world, so we don't want to be agents of evil. Okay? So we want to be agents of good. So how can we be a good person? First, Quran says, listen, if doing good and being good is not at the core of who you are as a person, then you're likely going to be lost in life. And these are even the ayahs that we teach our children because they are shorter surahs. So we don't need to all be officers of the Quran. If we are, that's a good thing. But the message of the Quran is simple. Even if you know some of the Quran and you're kind of cognizant of it, you've picked up the larger message. In Surah Al-Asr, one of the shortest surahs of the whole Quran, it states, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wal asr, right? By the afternoon, by the dawn, whatever, by time. Inna al-insana lafi khusr. Two emphasis. Inna, emphatic. Insan, human beings. La, emphasis again. Fi khusr. They're lost. And it makes one exception, right? Younger people. Illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat. So people who have iman, mashallah, we're all mu'min, right? We're mu'min because, we're Muslim. We love our Ahlul Bayt. We try to do our wajibat, stay with muharramat, so we're mu'min. Okay, so let's say we take the iman for granted. But also wa amilu salihat. Can be stagnant mu'min, right? Can be a mu'min who's just, I'm happy just being a mu'min. No, you have to have an active production of amilu salihat. And also this ayat, wa tawasaw bil haqq, wa tawasaw bis sabr. Okay, just this amilu salihat, what is that? In the message and in the movement of Imam al-Hussein, there was amilu salihat. Salihat was done. Okay, so what are the good things that we're supposed to be doing? We say, what is amilu salihat? It's righteous action. Okay? You want to teach your kid, you have to have iman and you have to have righteous action. So what is righteous action? You're walking in right now to the majlis and you see someone's behind you, you hold the door for them. That's a good thing to do, right? MashaAllah, righteous action. You're coming, you want to sit somewhere, but you see maybe someone elder than you. You want to give them respect. You come and sit. Respect is a good thing, righteous action. You become successful in your career, mashallah, Allah blesses you with the rizq and continues to bless you with the rizq. As a side note, being wealthy is a blessing of God too. Yes, there's also a responsibility that comes with it, but it's important for us to not look at wealth as being something satanic. It is good so long as it means it. So alhamdulillah, you're successful in your career, successful in your education, you become very wealthy. Now you give some money to charity. Very good. But the aspiration to be doing good, is the quality of that all the same, or are there also layers? And what we see in Karbala, is it just the standard, or is it a higher level, a higher layer? So again, in trying to receive the pleasure of God in the way that we are making contributions, we are participating, at what level are we supposed to be doing? Is it tantamount to holding the door for someone? We should of course be doing that. But if that's all we're doing, is that what we've learned in the example of the Imam and his companions? Let's look at what this amal al-salihat is, okay? Giving charity is a good thing. Recently, if you all heard in the news, when someone gets to a certain amount of wealth, all of your material needs for the most part are satisfied. You don't have a certain thirst, you don't have a certain longing for these things. I'm not speaking of experience, but reading, kind of some of the reflections and anecdotes of these very hyper wealthy individuals. A couple of weeks ago, the owner and CEO of this company, Patagonia. Patagonia is kind of like a high-end outdoor wear clothing, right? Think of like North Face and things like that. Very nice, very successful. worth billions of dollars. And man says, not really, this is not doing much for me. And considering all that's going on in the world, I want to make a positive contribution. So what does he do? There's a little more nuance here, but for the most part, he says, I want to donate the company to the fight of climate change. Something like 2 or 3% of the company he is holding in a trust for his own family. So the company doesn't, it remains within their values. But for the most part, they want to use either the base or the profits of the company to fight climate change. MashaAllah, such a good thing. That's something we should aspire to. Yeah, would be a good thing. But when we're teaching our children of Amal al-Salihat, is that really what we're saying? We're just saying make a lot of money and then give a lot of money to charity. All right, let's look to the Quran, okay? And I'm going to draw from a story that's very familiar to us. It's even one that your children will know. Okay. It's the story of Nabi Nuh alayhi salam, and we know of his struggles. He was a prophet for a very long time. Quran explicitly says he was a prophet 950 years. That's a long time, but imagine if the lifespans then were 10 times more than we were. For 95 years he was a prophet, and he worked hard and he tried hard. And for the most part, the people, I'm not saying he was not effective, but the people were not very receptive. So in our terms, he was not very effective. Only a handful of people after a lifetime of propagation, only a handful of people. Okay. But there's one interaction that he has that both is really hard to read. It's apparent, but also it's the key to unlocking what this Amal al-Salihat is in the true Quranic way, and also in the way that the Imam is teaching us in this example. Okay. Let's go to the Quran. Quran says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. قَالَ يَا نُوحُ. Oh no. إِنَّهُ لَيْسَ مِنْ أَهْلِكَ. Certainly he is not of your tribe, of your people, of your family. إِنَّهُ عَمَلٌ غَيْرُ صَالِحٍ. Surely he is an act that is not righteous. So where is this in the story, by the way? Nuh makes a plea to God about his son. Okay? Let's go to the ayahs. Before this. حَتَّى إِذَا جَاءَ أَمْرُنَا. Allah says, when our affair, our order, our command came, after he's been building this whole ark, and people have been mocking him, people have been deriding him, when our affair came, our order came, وَفَازَ تَنُّورُ. Our order came, and the oven gushed a stream of water. Essentially, it became evident that a storm was coming. Rain is coming, people, no. And then all of a sudden they see the weather changing, the clouds changing. Oh, oops, something's happening clearly here. قُلْ نَحْمِلْ فِيهَا مِنْ كُلِّ زَوْجَيْنِ اثْنَيْنِ. First he says, of all the animals that are accessible to you, take a pair of them. وَأَهْلَكَ, and your family. Put your family also on this ark. إِلَّا مَنْ سَبَقَ عَلَيْهِ الْقَوْلِ وَمَنْ آمَنَ. Except those against whom the edict has already been given. The dictation has already been given. The judgment has already been passed. And those who have faith. وَمَا آمَنَ مَعَهُ إِلَّا قَلِيلٌ. And those who will have iman to you, who will choose essentially to join you, will be only a small number of people. So it's saying already, take in this ark, not only of the animals, but to essentially recreate a new form, a new episode, a new chapter in humanity, take of your family too. So it was a divine instruction. And your son, of course, is a member of your family. Put him in the ark. وَقَالَ ارْكَبُوا فِيهَا. And boarded. Bismillah majreha wa mursaha. Inna Rabbi laghafurur rahim. It says, boarded in the name of God, and it shall set sail and cast anchor. Indeed, my Lord is all forgiving, all merciful. وَهِيَ تَجْرِي بِهِمْ فِي مَوْجٍ كَالْجِبَالِ. And this will kind of set sail in amid waves like mountains. Now, up to this point, it is clear what's going to happen. Allah has already told Nuh, listen, there's a catastrophic disaster is going to come. Those who board the ship will be saved. Now, Nuh has already been given instruction to also have his family accompany him. وَنَادَى نُوحٌ ابْنَهُ. Now, Nuh goes to his son, and he calls to him. وَكَانَ فِي مَعْزِلٍ. Where was the son? The son was standing aloof, standing in a hard place, because people saw that the conditions were changing. They had to take recourse, they had to take some action. So what did people do? Some people, if they had the opportunity in our words, they left the city. And the people who were considering to stay or didn't think it was that serious, they said, we're going to buckle down. Maybe we'll take some precautions. We'll get some food. We'll try to put additional support around the doors and the windows. Or those said, it's going to get really bad. We're going to go to a high location. So his son is one of those people thinking that, listen, this is not going to be that big of a deal. We haven't seen any sort of a flood like this before. Even if it rains, a little flood comes, so I go top the mountain, I'll be safe. Now, what I want to draw our attention to is both the action and the thinking of Nuh and the action and thinking of the son. You're teaching your kids to be logical people, right? So a storm is going to come. What should they do? Say it's really bad, they should leave. Or if it's really bad, they should go to a shelter. Or if it's really bad, maybe they should go, I don't know, on the top floor of their house. Or whatever. So they're taking a sort of rational steps to find what the appropriate action should be to this particular problem. Isn't that what it means to be problem solver, critical thinker? It's not like the son said, I'm going to sit right here. I don't believe in your God and you've been telling lies, so I don't care what happens. Let the flood take me. He said, no, as a precaution, I'm going to go on top of the mountain. And even if you're half right, I'm still going to be safe. Now we can have a conversation about this after. For the time being, I'm not going to inconvenience myself to get on a ship. Board an ark. So in some ways, look, he's negotiating with his father. And he's compromising. But the compromise is not because there's a divine decree. He's using his own logic and rationality. Now you tell me, is what the son of Nuh doing, is that unreasonable? Tell me, if you thought the same way or your children did the same way, would you say they're unreasonable? You say, you know what? What a smart kid, what a fair kid, what a respectful kid. At least he's giving me this much, that he's going to meet me halfway. Now, he may not buy into what I'm saying, but he's showing some reaction. Son, daughter, you have to be a good Muslim. You have to do this. You have to do that. You have to do this. You have to pay this. You have to go here. Come on, Dad. That's your culture. That's your generation. That's the way you were raised. I don't disagree with you, but I don't necessarily feel I have to practice this way. My spirituality is a different way. My connection with God is a different way. My interaction with charity is a different way. You say zakat and khums, I say charitable giving. I get a tax deduction. You say go on pilgrimage to Mecca and Karbala, I want to go in nature. Nature is better. Why don't I go to this place over here, no amenities, hard trip, I'm going to get sick probably. Right? I have a bad time, I'm going to get even more tired, I'm going to come back. Let me go to the nature. I thought God is the nature. So what they're saying is not, he's not saying, oh, God, I want to go party. Oh, Dad, I want to go party. Oh, God, Dad, I want to go do drugs. They're probably not saying these things, right? If they're being reasonable, you say, if they're at least saying go in nature, be spiritual, feel God, presence of God, that's still not a bad thing. I should be happy. What is the son of Nuh doing? Seems like he's being a little reasonable here, right? Okay. وَلَا تَكُنْ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ says, وَكَانَ فِي مَعْزَلٍ يَا بُنَيَّ Nuh tells his son, اركب معنا. Get on the ark with us. وَلَا تَكُنْ مِنَ الْكَافِرِينَ. Now, he already knows. He says, listen, you won't be safe there. But I'm giving you an option to be safe. Even if previously, you weren't really a supporter of mine. You're going to stab me in the back, you're making a mockery of me, but whatever, you're my son. Not only do I love you, but also it's a divine instruction. Put your ahl. Don't be the ones who conceals the truth. قال سآوي إلى جبل يعصمني من الماء. Son is firm in his way of thinking. No, I'm going to go atop the mountain, and that's going to save me from the water. قال لا عاصم اليوم من أمر الله إلا من رحم. Now Nuh is being even clearer. He says, listen, that may be a good idea, but on this day, nothing will save you from the command of God except for ones that God has had mercy on them. So don't seek refuge in the mountain. The mountain's not going to be able to help you today. The refuge is to be found in the mercy of God. Again, I want to hammer this point as many times as I can. The son of Nuh is not being unreasonable. He's not being a bad kid here. At least in this moment, he's not being a bad kid. He's giving his father a hard time, but he's not being irrational. Now his father is telling him, listen, whatever you think is going to bring you safety, security, you want to call it another way, happiness in life, satisfaction in life, success in life, whatever it is that you're looking for, you're not going to find it on top of the mountain. Today, this is such a special event. You have to come this way. Otherwise, you're going to be ruined. وحال بينهما الموج فكان من المغرقين. And between them came a veil of the waves of the flood, and his son was amongst those who were going to drown. وقيل يا أرض ابلعي ماءك ويا سماء أقلعي وغيض الماء وقضي الأمر واستوت على الجود. Okay. The command of God came. O earth, swallow the water. O sky, leave off. After those who didn't board the ark, they were drowned. Allah said, okay, return back. Water receded. And again, the edict came, and it settled on the Mount of Judi. وَقِيلَ بُعْدًا لِلْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. Away with the wrongdoing people. Zalimin means oppressive people. People who were oppressive either to themselves or to other people. Now, after this whole episode occurs and they finally settle, then Nuh makes this, he asks this question of God. وَنَادَ نُوحٌ رَبَّهُ. Now Nuh asked Allah. فَقَالَ رَبِّي. He says, oh my Lord, إِنَّ ابْنِي مِنْ أَهْلِي. I'm going to put two and two together. This is my son, and my son is of my ahl. And previously said, وَلْنَحْمِلْ فِيهَا مِنْ كُلِّ زَوْجَيْنِ اثْنَيْنِ وَأَهْلَكَ. So, إِنَّ ابْنِي مِنْ أَهْلِي وَأَنَّ وَعْدَكَ الْحَقِّ. And your promise is truthful. وَأَنْتَ أَحْكَمُ الْحَاكِمِينَ. And you are the most decisive of judges. No one's going to sway your judgment. No one's going to influence your judgment. No one's going to lobby for you to change your mind. So Nuh, in kind of an indirect way, saying, God, I thought you had given this promise. I thought you had given this instruction. So what happened? I thought my child was going to be safe. How did Allah respond? And that's the ayah we first read. قَالَ يَا نُوحْ إِنَّهُ لَيْسَ مِنْ أَهْلِكَ. He's not of your people. He's not of your family. He's not of your tribe. What? What are you talking about? Well, my son is my son. My daughter is my daughter. We're related by blood. In any way that you understand the concept, even though we have sometimes commented, we have conceptual challenges over some of these basic ideas, but his son is his son. Quran says, no, he's not your son. He is a manifestation of unrighteous action. Don't ask of something that you don't have knowledge of. See, you have made a miscalculation of understanding what my promise was and what the outcome would have been. So don't speak on something that you don't understand. I advise you lest you should be amongst the ignorant. No, make sure you're not ignorant. What are a few takeaways here? First thing, what is amalun salih? That now the son of Nuh becomes amalun ghayr salih. Amalun salih is simply not the performance of what is considered to be a good action. For the son of Nuh, his good action was to find recourse and refuge in the mountain. That's not a bad thing, like we've said. It's a good action. Giving of charity is a good action. Being nice with people is a good action. Being hospitable with people is a good action. Searching for peace in the world is a good action. Trying to be friends with everyone is a good action. All of these are good, virtuous things. But they are not always amalun salih. Those actions that are good in nature and that also correspond to the divine decree, those are the ones that the Quran characterizes. And that's why when it speaks about performing amal al-salihat, it's coupled, like we said, with iman. See, someone who does not have iman cannot produce amal al-salihat. Now, they may do amal khair, and you say, bro, this is a game of semantics. Good is good. Now you want to say Muslim good. No. Quran speaks about performance of good, production of salih. It's not simply just saying something that falls into the category of good and not in the category of evil. When you couple it with iman, it is doing the right thing in its appropriate circumstances. Imagine someone comes to you and asks for help and says, listen, I lost my job, I can't pay my mortgage, all right? I have $2,000 I have to pay this month. I'm searching for a job and likely we'll get one, let's say in 1 month's time. I need help. And they come and they ask you personally. Now you know he has a $2,000 bill that he has to pay. And it is within your capacity to give him a $2,000 loan. You know him, he's a stand-up guy or gal, and they'll pay you back. Even if they have to, take food off the table, they're not a person who's going to take your money. And in that moment, in that request, you say, you know what? Here's $500. Have you done a good thing? Come on. Yes, you have, right? But that's not amal salih. Let him go ask someone else. I paid my share. All of these things, I'm saying, they're not bad. But it is not the right response in that moment. That moment, the person needs help for $2,000. You can help. He needs help. He's good for the money. You can loan it to him. No one is saying to forgive your money. No. Just give a loan. To turn him away without fulfilling his request, it may be a good action, but it's not amal salih. We have so many of these examples. Look, again, when Khidr alayhi salam was teaching amal salih, what was he doing? In each of those examples, all of those were amal salih. Now you look at those are even harder things to. He's puncturing the ship. How can that be a good action? It's in the bad action category. Wow. But that's all amal salih. It is performing an action that corresponds to the divine decree. So what defines amal salih is determined by the context, the circumstances. Now let's go to the example of Imam Hussain. We'll end there and we'll give a few contemporary examples and we'll conclude. See, what was the Imam doing? We said his response was not unreasonable. He wasn't being provocative. He was in Medina. He was consumed with his own affairs. He had an eye to the ummah. He was trying to be supportive as best as he could, and as was his responsibility. Now it was imposed on him to give allegiance. I'm not going to do that. So what did he do? Did he start fighting right then and there? No. So if I'm not safe here, my safety is not guaranteed here, let me go somewhere else that there's more opportunity. So he went from there to Mecca. Then from Mecca, he goes all the way on his way to Kufa. Each of the steps the Imam took, reasonable steps, logical steps. But alongside the decisions that he was making, and you know this history better than I do because some of you are 40-year seniors of these majalis. You know that people came and saw the Imam at different points in his journey and were giving alternative solutions. Listen, just stay here, ignore them, we will support you. Or don't leave to Kufa. If you go to Kufa, then it's going to be seen as an uprising, and we fear that the end will not be good for you. And what the end will not be good for you is them saying, you're probably going to die. You're probably going to be killed. You're going to be seen as an enemy of the state, and they're going to kill you. Now, some of them you can say sincerely they're giving that advice. Listen, I don't want to see you be killed. I care for you. I love you. And some of them maybe are a little more opportunist. So we don't want you to go. Maybe you are successful and all of a sudden you're in a position of power. Be that as it may. But the suggestions that were being given were not unreasonable ones. They were not irrational ones. Stay here for a moment. Be patient. Work incognito. Fly under the radar. Hold your tongue. Don't say anything. Imam says, this is the will of God. If you hear him and you read the exchanges that the Imam is having, he's not saying, well, I think I'm going to be successful, so I'm going to go. I'm going to have a revolution. No. So this is the will of God. God has decreed such, and I'm going to do it. Now, again, someone like me, I look at that and says, it's a poor decision. That's a poor decision. Because again, like we said, looking at it from a utilitarian way, ultimately it ended up what? In his martyrdom. It was fully, you can say slaughtered, destroyed. But the Imam is not looking at Amal al-Salih as being, okay, the result is going to be one that necessarily manifests itself in the ways that popular society understands success. It's not about that. Allah is already telling the Prophet, listen, Prophet, why are you, as a Prophet, it was hard for him. He said, I'm trying to guide the people. I'm trying to help them. And they're not receptive to my help. He's losing sleep. He's feeling, stressed, as we call it. He's looking to the heavens. Quran says, what are you doing? If God had wanted, all of them would have believed. The issue is not for you to look at your numbers and say, I converted 90%, so I'm successful. That's not the point. That's destroying the first principle, which is the will of God. You're saying, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in Tawheed. It is me. If I can do it. No. It's not about you and I. It's about showing through submission to God that you and I can produce righteous action, even if it may not correspond to the way that popular society understands. It needs to correspond to the way that God understands it being pleasurable. Brother, are you saying that we should not even care about what the result is? No, we're not saying that. Even the Imam, when he got there to Karbala and said, you know what, Imam said, okay, let me go back to Medina. They said no. The Imam presented 3 options, right? 3 options the Imam presented. They denied all of them. But the example that we learn about Amal al-Salih is the example that manifests itself on Ashura. And the journey that began and ended in Medina. All of those are examples of Amal al-Salih. But it is not just easy for you and I to say, I want to do that one. We start from the holding of the doors. Once you can hold the door, once you can give up a seat, once you can distance yourself from a little money. Ashab were in Kufa, Imam is stranded. Someone said, I'm sorry, I really want to join you. But, I have some, affairs and businesses that need to be resolved. So I can't come right now. But even there's an example that says, even then, here, take my horse. Here, take some money. Imam says, I don't need your horse. I don't need your money. I want you. So what makes this movement so successful is that at the core of it is righteous action. But its righteous action is not like, and again, this is not judgmental. It's not like Bill Gates, I'm going to set up Gates Foundation and give $1 billion. It is not about that. Yeah, maybe after all things are said and done, at the end of your life, now you want to give charitable. Maybe that's not Amal al-Salih. Maybe the Amal al-Salih is to give the $1 that you only had in the moment early on before you made it. That's how show yourself. Show that you can do something in the pleasure of God. Not just after all things are said and done. Now you want to come to the table and do good things. The things that are good. Let's conclude with this, inshallah. Second principle is the existence of righteous action in the example of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. What is righteous action? It is not simply something that is good. It is a good action that is in line with the commandments of God, that seeks in that moment the pleasure of God, which responds to the circumstances that the person finds himself in. That is righteous action. And when a person performs that righteous action, we can easily, through the implication of Surah Al-Asr, and the person is now made exempt from being in total loss in life, because they're able to perform Amal al-Salih. So it is for us to start thinking, and if we already have started, to continue thinking and to deepen our thinking in the ways that we are also supposed to be producing Amal al-Salih. And let us take a journey there. We want to plant the seed in the hearts of our children to do good. The first level is a good that is understood and acceptable in all the world. Let them start there. But add on it a doing of good that is now coupled with Iman. A doing of good that may be at a level that is not appreciated in larger society, but is responding to the call of the time, and the pleasure of God is to be found there. But the important thing is to not jump the gun. You cannot expect from someone to produce a quality of work that is so high without them having already traversed the levels and the stages beforehand. When you get ahead of yourself, then you start making mistakes. There you think you're doing something so magnanimous, but in reality, you're likely just feeding the ego, and you're probably making a lot of strategic mistakes too. So in the aspiration of trying to be at the place where we are also companions of the Imam that are producing righteous action, it's important for us to keep that in mind. Now, you say, okay, brother, no, we want to do this. How do we find that? We already know the answer to this. Just sitting here is already the answer to this. Person who wants to find true righteous action and move past just the plain good to the amalun salih. Narrated from Imam Rida alayhi salatu wasalam. لا تدعو العمل الصالح والاجتهاد في العبادة اتكالا على حب آل محمد عليه الصلاة والسلام. Something that we can open up inshallah another time. But the Imam is saying, listen, you have love for Ahlul Bayt. Don't cast aside the need to perform these righteous actions just because of the love that you have there. But on the other side too, وَلَا تَدْعُوا حُبَّ آلِ مُحَمَّدٍ وَالتَّسْلِيمِ لِأَمْرِهِمْ اتِّكَالًا عَلَى الْعِبَادَةِ. But at the same time, do not cast aside the love of the Ahlul Bayt and taslim li'amrihim, and being subservient and submissive to their will, to their commands, which is the command of God. So not just the love, but also an obedience, a commitment to what they have taught us in right and wrong. Do not abandon them, relying just on your ibadah. And render ibadah as good works. Just because you are doing good, don't say, I'm free of the need of these things. Oh, brother, I'm not going to come to the majlis because I'm busy doing something good. What are you doing? You're just sitting here listening. I'm doing something good. No. These are not mutually exclusive in the way to look at it. You find righteous action through the love that you gain here for Ahlul Bayt. And now that you have the love, take that love and translate into a amalun salih. Not just the good, you are a different class of good that you can produce. So show that you have taken, you have learned, you have appreciated, you have digested, and now you are producing as a result of the love that you've gained here. So when someone looks and says, okay, I see everyone does good things, but the way that you do good is something of a different nature. You tell them, because of this Ahlul Bayt. You come, you also fall in love with them, you can produce the same things. That's essentially what we're saying. فإنه لا يقبل أحد ما دون الآخر. This is really what a way to end this thing. The Imam says that one of these things will not be accepted without the other. So you have the ibadah, but you don't have love of Ahlul Bayt. We will give you the reward of your good things right here in this world. You did a charitable act, we will give you the reward of that in this world. But you do that with love of Ahlul Bayt, that's something that is everlasting. And at the same time, you have the love of Ahlul Bayt, but you completely leave the opportunity to produce righteous action. That love is a love that is deficient. It's a love that is deficient, because the Imam is saying one of them will not be accepted without the other. Of course, we want the love of Ahlul Bayt because we know love of Ahlul Bayt secures success, happiness, felicity in this world and the next. Ahlul Bayt is saying couple that with the production of righteous actions. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by the right of these majalis to make us of those who have true love of Ahlul Bayt. And as a result of our love of Ahlul Bayt, we were able to aspire to produce righteous actions, inshallah. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Let us take our hearts once again to Medina. In these days that we remember the caravan of Ahlul Bayt returning to this city. It has been narrated that Imam Zainul Abidin, as the caravan of the Ahlul Bayt is returning to Medina, before they arrive at the city limits, the Imam stops the caravan. He instructs the tents to be erected. He turns to one of the companions by the name of Bashir ibn Hadlam. Oh, Bashir, I knew your father to be a poet, recited poetry in love of Ahlul Bayt. Are you, Bashir, also like your father, a poet? Yes, O son of the Holy Prophet. I too can recite poetry. Go then, Bashir, to Medina and share with them the news of the martyrdom of Abu Abdullah. Bashir says, I got on my horse and rushed to enter Medina. As I arrived at the city center, I went to the masjid of the Prophet. I raised my voice weeping and called, O people of Medina, Medina is no longer your place. For Hussein has been killed, making me weep all the time. O people of Medina, as we return, we are not able to come with the body of Hussein, for his bleeding body was left in Karbala. But his holy head was severed and moved from city to city atop a spear. O inhabitants of Medina, here comes Ali ibn al-Hussein. He resides outside the city with his aunts and his sisters. He sends me as a messenger informing you of his arrival. They say the inhabitants of Medina rushed out of their homes. The women veiled, weeping, screeching, beating themselves. So loudly they wept. They say after the death of the Prophet, the people had not seen such weeping in Medina. One of these women comes, O messenger of doom, you have renewed our grief through the news of the martyrdom of Abu Abdullah. We have wounds that have not healed. You have poured salt on our wounds. Bashir says, I am just the messenger. I'm here to take you to where Ali ibn al-Hussein and his family reside. The people followed Bashir to where the caravan had stopped. As they arrived, Zainul Abidin was still in the tent. The people increased in their cries and mourning. The Imam comes out with a handkerchief in his hand, wiping his tears. One of the servants puts a chair for Zainul Abidin. The Imam sits. He puts his hand up, signaling for silence. Everyone goes quiet to hear what the Imam will say. The Imam then recites Majlis for his father. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Begins with praise to Allah. Maliki Yawmiddin. Bari al-Khalaiq Ajma'in. We're giving praises, but what do we give praises for? نحمده على عظائم الأمور. We give praises to Allah for the great affairs that we experienced. وفجائع الدهور, and the tragedies of the times. وألم الفجائع ومضاضة اللواذع, over the bitterness of scoldings, over the crushing difficulties and hardships. أيها القوم إن الله وله الحمد ابتلانا بمصائب جليلة وثلبة في الإسلام عظيمة. O people of Medina, Bashir has told you what has happened. Certainly Allah has tried us. He has tested us with a great affliction and a break in Islam. قتل أبو عبد الله الحسين وهجرته. And they martyred Abu Abdullah and his family. As you can see, our numbers are much less. Hussein and his loyal followers remain there in Karbala. وَسُبِيَ نِسَاؤُهُ وَسَبِيبَتُهُ. If you can see, women and children have returned. But you can see in their faces they are broken. You can see in their physical demeanor they have aged. Why? Because they were taken captives throughout this journey. وَدَارُوا بِرَاسِهِ فِي الْبُلْدَانِ مِنْ فَوْقِ عَامِلِ السِّنَانِ. They carried the holy heads of the martyrs on top spears from place to place. وَهَذِهِ الرَّزِيَّةُ الَّتِي لَيْسَ مِثْلَهَا رَزِيَّةٌ. This is a a calamity that was unparalleled. Now, O people, أيها الناس, after I've told you these things, فأي رجالات منكم يسرون بعد قتل. Who among you can allow themselves to be joyful after hearing this news? أم أي فؤاد لا يحزن من أجله أم أي عين منكم تحبس دمعها وتظن عن انهيامها. Oh people, how many of you can allow yourselves to stop the tears from rolling? How can an eye be stingy and weeping after hearing the martyrdom of Abu Abdullah? Let me tell you, فقد بكت السبع الشداد لقتله. The seven heavens wept over the martyrdom of Al-Hussein. وبكت البحار بأمواجها. The oceans cried through their waves. All of creation is in mourning. أيها الناس أي قلب لا ينسدع لقتله. Oh people, which heart is so hard and rough that it has not been shocked by the martyrdom of Al-Hussein. أم أي فؤاد لا يهن إليه. Which soul is not inclined towards him. أم أي سمع يسمع هذه الظلمة التي ظلمت في الإسلام ولا يذم. Oh people, which ear can hear the musibah of Abu Abdullah and not be deafened after hear of the trials and tribulations which we experienced. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. Matam Hussein, Ya Hussein.
Hussein, 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 Hussein,
लाश अली अकबर है खुदा खैर करे बिन्त ज़हरा का खुदा सर है खुदा खैर करे बिन्त ज़हरा का खुदा सर है खुदा खैर करे मारे तेरे बहाने को ज़मीन पर मारते हैं बहाने को ज़मीन पर मारते हैं बहाने को ज़मीन पर अपने दिलदार असगर है खुदा खैर करे बिन्त ज़हरा का खुदा सर है खुदा खैर करे बिन्त ज़हरा का खुदा सर है खुदा खैर करे कुछ कदम दूर खड़ी देख रही है कुछ कदम दूर खड़ी देख रही है ज़ैनब शिमली के हाथ में खंजर है खुदा खैर करे कुछ कदम दूर खड़ी देख रही है ज़ैनब कुछ कदम दूर खड़ी देख रही है ज़ैनब कुछ कदम दूर खड़ी देख रही है ज़ैनब सिमरी के हाथ में खंजर है खुदा खैर करे बिन्त ज़हरा का खुदा सर है खुदा खैर करे लाश अब्बास पे जाता है दिखाने के लिए लाश अब्बास पे जाता है दिखाने के लिए लाश अब्बास पे जाता है दिखाने के लिए सिमरी के हाथ में चादर है खुदा खैर करे बिन्त ज़हरा का खुदा सर है खुदा खैर करे है छड़ी हाथ में ज़ालिम के लबों पर हंसी है छड़ी हाथ में ज़ालिम के लबों पर हंसी है छड़ी हाथ में ज़ालिम के लबों पर है हंसी कश्त में शेकारा खाकर है खुदा खैर करे बिन्त ज़हरा का खुदा सर है खुदा खैर बिन्त ज़हरा का खुदा सर है खुदा खैर करे
Hussein, 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 Hussein,
الوداع 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 حسین الوداع
सलाम मुझ पे कुर्बान है आखिरी ये सलाम चाहे ज़ीशान 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 है आखिरी ये सलाम दिल है वीरान है आखिरी ये सलाम अलविदा 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 ऐ हुसैन अलविदा 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 ऐ हुसैन बख्श दे हो गई हो जो कोई खता बख्श दे हो गई हो जो कोई खता हक से खिदमत न हमसे अदा हो सका हक से खिदमत न हमसे अदा हो सका हम यही है नदी भर के मातम किया 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 तेरी बात तू अपना सर दे दिया अलविदा 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 ऐ हुसैन अलविदा 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 ऐ हुसैन गरजिए साल भर फिर करेंगे ये बात गरजिए साल रोएंगे फिर तेरे गम में मिलकर बहार रोएंगे फिर तेरे गम में मिलकर बहार और अगर मर गए तो ये होगा अलाप 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 दोस्ती भर कर रोए ना अलविदा 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 ऐ हुसैन अलविदा 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 ऐ हुसैन अलविदा ऐ हुसैन ऐ हुसैन अलविदा अलविदा ऐ हुसैन अलविदा अलविदा ऐ शाहे मशरक़ैन अलविदा अलविदा ऐ शाहे मशरक़ैन अलविदा बिन्ते अहमद के नूर ऐन 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 अलविदा है मुताहिर पर ये बैन अलविदा 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 ऐ हुसैन अलविदा 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 अब तक है ज़बानों पे अलमदार अलमदार अभी तक है ज़बानों पे अलमदार अलमदार इस शान से बाबा का अलम तूने उठाया मश्की का छिदा लौट के तू घर नहीं आया ऐ शेरी जवाने पिसरे हैदर करार ऐ शेरी जवाने पिसरे हैदर करार ऐ शेरी जवाने पिसरे हैदर करार अब तक है ज़बानों पे अलमदार السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى وارث أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر لحد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليك يا أبو الفضل العباس أمين المؤمنين وخاصم بن الحسن مسلم بن أخيل وهاني بن عروة وحبيب بن مظاهر وهر الشهيد الرياهي. السلام عليكم جميعا شهداء كربلاء ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان. الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان وشر الشيطان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا مظهر الإيمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك ودهورك وجعلنا من أنصارك وأوانك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم كن وليك الحجة الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه وردك طوعا وتمتيه فيها تمينا.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب जा पंजतने पाक का सदका इस कौम का दामन गम शब्बीर से भर दे। बच्चों को अता कर अली असगर का तबस्सुम, बूढ़ों को हबीब इब्न मज़ाहिर की नजर दे। कम से इनको मिलाए वल वलाए और मोहम्मद हर एक जवान को अली अकबर का जिगर दे। माओ को सिका सानिया ज़हरा का सलीका, बहनों को सकीना की दुआओं का सर दे। मौला तुझे ज़ैनब की असीरी की कसम है, बेजुर्म असीरों को रिहाई की खबर दे। जो चादर ज़ैनब के ज़ार मौला महफूज रहे ऐसे ख़वातीन के पर्दे। जो दीन के काम आए वो औलाद अता कर, जो मजलिस शब्बीर की खातिर हो कर दे। मुफलिस पर लाल जवाहिर की बारिश मफरूज का हर कर्ज अदा गैब से कर दे। गम कोई ना दे हमको सिवाय गम शब्बीर, गम कोई ना दे हमको सिवाय गम शब्बीर। शब्बीर का अंबार कहा है तुझे
Inshallah, tomorrow will be our last Majlis.